Get ready, Staten Island. It's time to celebrate 5 years of Ferry Hawks baseball. Join us Friday, April 24th through Sunday, April 26th for our first homestand of the season and our 5th anniversary celebration. Score big with $5 tickets. Grab $5 domestic draft beers. Enjoy $5 popcorn. And yes, 2 Nathan's hot dogs for just $5. Visit ferryhawks.com now to lock in your seats. The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And tonight, everybody is talking about the ceasefire extension by President Trump. The deadline was fast approaching. It was only hours away. And President Trump came forth and put out a message saying that the ceasefire will continue until negotiations. So let's see where this goes. He's also asking Iran to cancel reported executions. Apparently, Iran is beefing up its executions of protesters and planning mass executions again. And President Trump saying, I urge you not to do that. So what will President Trump do? What is going to happen next? Trump also saying he will not be rushed into a deal with Iran, a deal that he feels is not the right move. And here he is just a little bit ago. This was earlier today. He was on CNBC and he said it's Americans that have the upper hand with this ruthless regime and that we cannot take a half deal. It has to be with, of course, the promise of no nuclear weapons. President Trump says he is not budging and that he will do all or nothing. And if they won't come to it, well, guess what? The bombs will start flying. Here he is.
Well, as I said 2 days ago when they said they won't send them, I said they'll be sending them. They have no choice but to send them. What I think is that we're going to end up with a great deal. I think they have no choice. We've taken out their Navy. We've taken out their Air Force. We've taken out their leaders, frankly, which does complicate things in one way, but these leaders are much more rational. It is regime change, no matter what you want to call it, which is not something I said I was going to do, but I've done it, indirectly maybe, but I've done it. And I think we're in a very strong negotiating position to do what other presidents should have done during a 47-year period. We have 47 years where these bloodthirsty people have been killing a lot of soldiers, a lot of our soldiers, and a lot of other people. They've killed 42,000 people over the last 2 months. And, you get to a point where people don't want to mention that. They don't like mentioning that. 42,000 unarmed protesters, innocent unarmed protesters, many of them hung. So we're not dealing with the nicest group of people, but we're dealing with them very successfully, and the blockade has been a tremendous success. They said 2 days ago, we will open the strait. I said, no, we're not going to open the strait until we have a final deal. No, we want to open the strait. They said, we're not opening. We totally control the strait, just so you understand, for all the fake news out there.
So is this the right move to give Iran more time? Trump says he will not be rushed into a deal. And I applaud him on that. I also applaud that if he thinks there's a chance that maybe this could get resolved, that's a good thing. He is the peace president. No matter what the crazy Democrats are saying, he is the guy who keeps trying to find peace as the solution and give Iran yet one more chance. On the other hand, you don't want to give them too many chances. You don't want them to reconstitute. You don't want weaponry. You know they're going to be keeping an eye on everything that comes in and out of the country. But there's a lot of questions as to what's going on within the country, too, as you heard from the leadership. I mean, you're hearing that the IRGC is fighting with the civilians, that they're executing the civilian leadership, and also more planned just overall mass executions. And President Trump saying there, as you heard, 42,000 Iranian citizens have been executed. That is horrific. This regime is a bunch of monsters. And anybody who is wishing that Trump doesn't do well in this is un-American, really is un-American. It's reprehensible. How could you not wish that this mission is an enormous success, not just for this generation, but future generations, That's why I say bravo, President Trump. You had the cojones to go after Iran, which every other American president in my lifetime talked about doing, but didn't do anything. And if anything, they facilitated Iran. So earlier today, we talked with Ari Fleischer on Katz and Cosby, former White House press secretary. Here is what Ari had to say about what the president will have to face at some point very soon. And we spoke with him right after news came down that he was extending this ceasefire. Take a listen.
Well, I'm kind of hoping that the president is just playing with his food. We all know how this is going to end. Iran is going to lie. They're going to try to stretch out these negotiations for as long as they can. And they have no intention of complying, and they're hoping eventually that we get tired and they get back to their business trying to develop a nuclear weapon. So, the president is extending these deadlines, but I think ultimately, one way or another, he's going to have to make the decision to get this over with. And if the Iranians won't comply, we're going to have to use force again.
Yeah, if they won't comply, we will have to use force. And I was expecting that if President Trump got some negative messages, or if they went there for talks like J.D. Vance and the others and nothing developed, that maybe it will really be a pounding. And you could bet that the next go round, it will be substantial. President Trump promising that if it does get to attacks yet again against Iran, what they saw so far is nothing compared to what's coming. Iran, in the meantime, also saying that they have some cards that they have yet to reveal. So what does that mean? Is that just hogwash bluster? It very well may be. Or is somebody else helping them behind the scenes like Russia and China, which we know for sure are trying to help them? 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to John in Colorado on line 5. Go ahead, John. Your thoughts tonight here on the Rita Cosby Show.
Yeah, I think what I would do in this case, I don't know, I'd put like 50,000 Marines on the ground and take over an airport and start a base, and then start enlisting the civilians that want to fight for their country and arming them and helping them, and then send in the tanks, and then destroy the rest of their missiles and drones.
Now, you said 50. Hang on one second, though. Hang on one second. I want to start with the first step because it's an interesting point you're bringing up. So, John, if you're saying 50,000, send them what? Send the Marines in what, to the airport, or send them all over the place? Because they'll be sitting ducks, too.
Find an airport so they'd have an airstrip and take over the airport and start a base there.
Yep.
Marine base.
And then?
And then you start enlisting civilians and people in Iran that want to fight for their country and give them weapons, train them, give them uniforms. I don't know.
Now, John, don't you think they're already trying to get the weapons to those individuals that are ready to rise up?
I don't know what they're doing with that.
Yeah, I know that we've heard mixed reactions. We've heard but I think the CIA or somebody's at least trying to get the weapons to them. There's got to be even some sort of command of the citizen groups. There's got to be a designated leaders that are ready to take the helm to take the fight like we're talking about when it happens. Don't you think? I mean, they can't just hope, go on a wing and a prayer.
Well, I think it's going to get big because they still have all that enriched uranium they need to find and get that. I think we really just need to take it over and run it for a year or two and get the elections going again and the people in office and, just straighten the place out. But it's not going to happen in a few months.
How long do you think it's going to take?
Years.
Wow. Do you think
it's like trying to straighten out Afghanistan and the Taliban? They just made a law over there where women have to cover one of their eyes when they're wearing that. What do they call it? A burqa.
The burqa. Wait a minute. Are you serious? They first had to have the head cover. Now you're saying they have to cover an eye too?
Yeah, one eye. So imagine wearing a patch on your eye all the time. And I work in ophthalmology, and that's not good for their eye.
Oh, my God. It certainly is not. I mean,
now they're making all the women do that.
These people are monsters. I mean, remember, they weren't even allowing them to have education. And I'm glad you're bringing up Afghanistan, John, because to me, it's a perfect example of the withdrawal by Biden of what not to do.
We should have took over the whole country.
Yeah, and we should have kept Bagram. Don't you think we should have kept Bagram?
Yeah.
You talk about a strategic base. Imagine if we had kept Bagram, have eyes in the sky, and then we could keep an eye on China. I spent time in Bagram. I was there, and I was
build another one in Iran.
Yep. You're right. Hey, listen.
All right. Well, that's
let's
my
pray.
pitch on it.
John,
that's what I do.
Great ideas. Thank you very much. Really interesting ideas. And who knows? It may come to some sort of special ops or something. Who knows? I don't think people want to see 50,000 U.S. Marines. Maybe some special ops folks coming in. Who knows? 82nd, we know, is in theater, is in the area. Who knows what they're thinking, too, what the plans are. You can bet President Trump tonight is thinking about all his different options. John, really fascinating. Really good talking to you. Let's go, if we could, let's go to Nick in Virginia. Virginia, big news tonight, Nick, that this redistricting went through the referendum. Last I saw, it was 51 to 48%. And how is this fair? Before we get to your thoughts, how is this fair that now it's 6 to 5, right, seats? It's Democrats versus Republicans, 6 to 5. And this would make it Democrats 10 to 1. I mean, how is that fair when the population looks more like 6 to 5 on the last election?
It's not fair at all, Rita. In fact, what Democrats are doing, they're codifying corruption. And this, the difference between this action and what Texas did is totally different. Texas's constitution allows for redistricting every 5 years, and Virginia's constitution does not allow them to do that. In fact, in 2020, we voted to disallow this very thing in Virginia. And Blabbertail is changing this whole thing. She totally changed her whole platform.
Yeah, she flip-flopped.
Fair about elections.
She flip-flopped. And Nick, hold on. Nick, she literally campaigned saying, I do not believe in this, in the redistricting, the gerrymandering, the changing of the seats. And now suddenly, surprise, surprise, she becomes the governor, Abigail Spanberger, and now she is in support of it. I mean, she is like a wolf in sheep's clothing. I'm telling you, between her and also Mikey Sherrill in New Jersey, both of them ran like they're moderates among moderates among moderates. And literally within hours of taking the state houses, the governor's houses, they were like you would have thought they were like mini Mondanis out there.
Well, Rita, it's not over. We have the Virginia Supreme Court. I'm sure there are going to be court challenges. The Supreme Court in Virginia is conservative, and they're going to vote this thing down. And hopefully it doesn't go all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, which the Democrats will probably try to do that, to overturn the Virginia Supreme Court decision. Let me tell you how dishonest these Democrats are here in Virginia. In Page County, the Democrats put a big bulletin board up with Trump's picture on it, suggesting that we vote yes on this. And it was they pulled out a quote from Trump on something else he had commented about, let's go vote. And then they put a big yes there. Trump says yes, vote for this. That's how dishonest these people are.
That's amazing.
They'll do anything by any means to get their power here.
Wow. And Nick, you saw, and I'm sure you were aware, on the referendum itself, I was reading it earlier in the show, because even the verbiage in the referendum says, should Virginia amend it to, quote, restore fairness in the upcoming elections. So if somebody doesn't know much and suddenly they see restore fairness, it's like, oh, well, that sounds like a good thing. That sounds like the right thing to do. And so they give it a rubber stamp. I mean, it's like even the language, whoever wrote this clearly was stilted. It doesn't say to help Democrats, blank, blank. It's like to restore fairness. How is that fair? And I was reading earlier, the amount on the vote in 2024, Kamala Harris, 51.8%. Trump got 46.1%. I mean, how is that fair to how now somehow 10 congressional seats to 1, 10 Democrat to 1 Republican? Final thoughts. Do you think it'll be overturned by the conservative Virginia Supreme Court?
Absolutely. And one thought about that ballot you were talking about, when it says no, there was no explanation under no. What does no mean?
Right. They wouldn't even help them. Yeah. Oh, my. Nick, pray for America. That's all I got to say. Pray for America. We will definitely be praying for the great state of Virginia. Wow. They definitely deserve our love and support. Hopefully, the Virginia Supreme Court steps in. Thanks so much. 1-800-848-9222. We'll continue with your calls, guys, after the break. What do you think of this? And also the fact that President Trump has now extended the ceasefire indefinitely. So does he have a trick up his sleeve? Is this a diversion? And is the military going in? Or is he letting Iran kind of sort things out, as they say?
The Rita Cosby Show
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This is the Rita Cosby Show.
And let's continue with your calls here on the Rita Cosby Show. 1-800-848-9222. By the way, tomorrow there will be a debate in the California governor's race. I can't wait to see that. That is going to be remember, it's like everybody's in that. It is a jungle primary, it's called. And so there's all these different characters. You got Tom Steyer, the billionaire who just got endorsed by a non-billionaire type group, a group that protests against billionaires, somehow supported the billionaire because he's a Democrat. Really wonderful. And then you got Steve Hilton, who seems to be leading in that race and doing a great job. I love Steve. So who knows where that goes? We'll keep you posted. Let's go to John in St. Louis, line 4. Go ahead, John.
Hey, Rita, how are you?
Good. What do you think?
Well, I think Steve Hilton's wonderful. I am encouraged by Fox hosts that keep the faith like you do. I do have one personal question before I get to my main point.
John, you got to hold on. We got a hard break. I'll let you stay over if you want to ask a personal question, but hang on. You got to get to the point quicker. That's a good trick. We'll be right back.
The Rita Cosby Show
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Rita Cosby is on.
So what is President Trump up to? You heard it. He is now getting an extension on the ceasefire pending negotiations. And here is Senator John Kennedy. I love this guy. Good old folksy John Kennedy from Louisiana. He has his doubts when he thinks that there's any sort of logic to come with the Iranian terrorist regime. Take a listen.
You have to understand what's going on internally among the government, such as it is in Iran. It's like the cantina bar scene in Star Wars. You have a bunch of the new leaders. Some of them are scared. All of them are angry. Some of them are crazy. They think that if they die, they'll go to heaven and get 72 virgins. They're going to be very disappointed when they find out it's 72 Virginians. But
would you describe it as a wretched hive of scum and villainy?
I would describe it as dealing with Charles Manson. I mean,
I was going with your Star Wars reference. I was continuing that, but do continue with this.
I don't want to get sued by Star Wars. I mean, by Star Wars. But look, these you're not. When we deal with our enemies that have nuclear weapons, China, North Korea, Russia, these are rational people. The people running Iran are not, and I don't know if we'll ever get an agreement. As far as I'm concerned, we have achieved our objectives. I never believed that we would be able to change the regime. I've never believed that we would be able to get our hands on the enriched uranium without sending in troops, and I don't want to send in troops.
A lot to think about. You guys heard one of our callers earlier saying it's time to send in 50,000 Marines. I don't think that's going to happen, but you could tell that this is getting really tenuous and really painful. And President Trump is not going to want to put up with this for a long time, guys. You know that. I know it. So where is this headed? Well, if you listen to the Democrats, they don't want it to head anywhere. I guess they're okay with Iran getting a nuclear weapon because anything is anti-Trump, Trump derangement syndrome. These people have lost their minds. And listen to Senator Cory Booker. He may lose his voice.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a storm in our nation. There is darkness and wind. People are getting hurt. What we need is not from on high. We need foot soldiers of our democracy who in times of trial are willing to stand up. Will you stand for our democracy? Will you stand to get out the vote? Will you stand for our children? Will you stand up for our elders? And will you stand together, unified, strong, be the hope that people need? We are Democrats. It's time for a new deal. It's time to redeem the dream of America.
And imagine if he used that energy and said it's time to eradicate the terrorists in Iran. But he feels like the threat to world freedom is Trump, not Iran. How off their rocker are some of these Democrats? The other one is Adam Smith. I couldn't believe this guy. Adam Smith, Democrat. He was on MS Now, and here he is. And he actually said that he believes Iran essentially over President Trump, that Iran, the propaganda terrorist regime, that they seem more trustworthy than Trump, than an American president. Shame on this guy. Take a listen.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a storm in our nation. There is darkness and wind. People are getting hurt. What we need is not from on high.
I would think it quite likely that Iran will not show up and negotiate because what they've said about where negotiations are at has turned out to be a lot closer to the truth than anything coming out of the White House.
So you believe Iran over the White House?
Well, I wouldn't put it that way. I would put it exactly the way I just put it.
And you know what? When I hear that, all I want to do is this.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a storm in our nation. There is darkness and wind. People are getting hurt. What we need is not from on high. We need foot soldiers of our democracy who in times of trial are willing to stand up.
Yeah, that is, I'm not going to get that out of my head. I am definitely not going to get that out of my head. Cory Booker screaming and ranting. We had to play it a couple of times because it's just so insane. Spartacus.
Gentlemen, there is a storm in our nation.
Wait, we need a little more, Matt. Come on.
People are getting hurt. What we need is not from on high. We need foot soldiers of our democracy who in times of trial are willing to stand up. Will you stand for our democracy? Will you stand to get out the vote? Will you stand for our children?
Can you believe this? This is what he is up to. He's screaming about Trump. We're fighting a terrorist regime that killed 42,000 of their own people. And yet, that's what he's worried about. You got to be kidding me. You have got to be kidding me. So I want to play this because this is Jim Jordan. This is Cut 31. We talked with him earlier today on Katz and Cosby. He's chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. And he said there's sort of, it's like common sense and crazy. And I'm sure Spartacus goes in the crazy category. Listen to Chairman Jim Jordan.
Well, I mean, the president said it many times. It's common sense versus crazy. They take all kinds of crazy positions on policy, and then they say things like this, which makes no sense. I thought what the president did, and when Iran thought they were going to leverage the Strait of Hormuz, and President Trump said not so fast. I think we will take control of this and use it to our advantage as a way to get them to the negotiation table and stop them from getting a nuclear weapon. And one thing I know about President Trump. When President Trump tells you what he's going to do, he's going to do it.
Yeah, and he says that is his mission. He's not going to leave without mission accomplished, without mission complete. You just got to figure out how he's going to get there. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Bob in Riverhead on line 1. Go ahead, Bob. Your thoughts tonight.
Yeah, Rita, I think that, we have to conclude this with military action because we didn't bring Iran to the table until we forced extreme military action. So it seems that now it's without pedal to the metal. It's more delay. And again, I agree with what you said. And the admiral you had on had said that you can't trust these people. So I don't think we're showing this weakness is going to bring us to a good place. And if we don't, get the uranium and we don't have the straits open, I think that's a political win for them. So I'm not so sure that this foot dragging is our best approach.
But now, I hear what you're saying because what I am concerned about, my first reaction when I saw President Trump coming out today extending this, I thought either he has a trick up his sleeve, which very well may be the case, knowing President Trump, or like you said, is it a delay, an unnecessary delay, and a delay of the inevitable? Because they are, they have a history of playing games. They have a history of trying to run out the clock. The problem they have, you could say, okay, well, maybe in the midterms, the, Senate and the House, who knows what happens? We don't know. That's for sure. We definitely don't know where this is going, but the president's staying put, so he's going to fight them tooth and nail, and he's on a mission here, and he will continue that mission. So they don't, he's saying that time is not necessarily, it's not a negative for the America and for the U.S. military because they're in theater. My only concern is, Bob, I think there's a way to still do it from the sky. I mean, President Trump keeps alluding to the fact that he thinks that that the United States military they could, shut down Karg Island in a day. That's where 92% of Iran's oil exports essentially are coming from. So he could do that. He could do. So do you believe from the ground, or you're saying air alone is enough?
No, the same campaign we've had, air and naval. But I do think there's fuel added to the fire because with the seats getting flipped to the 10-1 that just went on in Virginia.
Yep.
I think there's the timeline is getting shortened here because the longer this goes on, and that's another log on the fire coming into the midterms, it's something to worry about. So, we're worried a lot about what's going on overseas and paying less attention to what's going on domestically. And I'm afraid that leads us to more exposure coming into the midterms. This has to be ended quickly. And I don't know that we can play diplomatic footsie anymore.
But you believe it has to be ended fully. You do. I mean, and I'm saying fully meaning like, eradicating their nuclear weapons and getting rid of their, advanced missiles and drones. You believe at least that much, right?
No, I believe in a full military victory because we can't have what happened in the last 47 years go on. None of that worked.
Yeah. By the way, I agree with you, Bob. I think you and I agree on that. I absolutely agree. You have to finish the job. And I do believe President Trump wants to finish the job. Don't you?
I absolutely do believe that, and they only have responded to force. And again, I think this is, it's eminent because of the victory in Virginia. I mean, the governorships winning in New Jersey and Virginia, and then the winning of the congressional seat by a very, very left congressman, from Jersey, and now this flip. I mean, there's a lot of indicators here that I think shows that we need to pay a lot of attention domestically going forward. So that's why we need this military action, so that it's expeditious. This is going to give closure, I think, to the fastest possible way. Strike them from the air, and you have to start hitting them. I know that closing down the ports is going to hurt them economically, and I think that's what he's counting on.
Yeah, he's hoping to squeeze them, dry them out.
Right. Push the time clock along. Hit a couple of more bridges. Hit a couple of power plants. And then I don't know why we're dragging our feet. Where is the CIA on arming the populace? That's been an issue for a long time here. These people can't rebel unless they're armed.
Yeah, I agree. And by the way, they very well may be. We just don't know that, as you know. It very well could be the case on the ground. Obviously, the CIA works covertly, but you're bringing some superb points because, they have to be equipped and ready for the moment, but there has to be a massive pounding. And you're right, this sort of drip, drip, drip. It may not work. It's got to be, they've got to really press them and push them. And I also don't trust China. I don't trust Russia. These are two allies, clearly, of Iran. And we already they caught, the U.S. military, that Chinese ship that had some not so nice things on it. So I'm sure it was some very illicit weaponry that they were planning to send to Iran. So what else have they sent? What do they have? And why give them the chance to rearm? So that's why I think he might do it even in the next day or two, Bob. I really do. I'm not sure if this isn't just sort of a distraction, a little bit of a ploy, like, okay, you rest easy, and then you go in for the surprise. What do you think?
Well, we have to finish the yard work because we need to get home and clean up what's going on at home.
No, you're right. You're right. And how good would it be for the world, Bob, if he can bring freedom? If he can free the Iranian people, that is an enormous, that I actually think would be the biggest accomplishment of his administration if he could do that.
Yeah, absolutely, because this whole thing hinges on the people being able to get their country back. So they have to be armed, and we need to continue to pound their regime right now, because the weaker they are, the more emboldened the people are, and if they're armed, they're ready to go. This is all a synergy that has to be put together in timing, and because of what's going on with the midterms, and because of the things that we've seen happen domestically, with the Democrats gaining positions I wouldn't have thought they would have gotten, this all means we have to move quickly if we're going to keep in time for the midterms. I'm concerned that these timelines aren't being paid attention to. We need to get Iran straightened out. We need to get the people in power there, but we also need to be able to marshal all our resources back here. And the thing is, I just looked up ceasefire, and there are 60 sites that come up in my search that are all left-leaning sites. I mean, maybe one, Reuters came up. So, again, when people go to either a Yahoo or social media, I've even seen still pics that invite you to look at something. Oh, 4 Iranian submarines attacked the aircraft carrier. Or the U.S. did the unseeming, and they show you an atomic bomb blowing up in the middle of the water.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Yeah. Well, that's why you're right. The spin is there. And you're right. The midterms are going to come up fast and furious. They literally are right around the corner from a political perspective. And if he could finish the job there, that really would be extraordinary. And you're right. Then bring down gas prices here, which I'm sure will drop very quickly once that's resolved. And then move on and hopefully keep the House and keep the Senate. Bob, thank you very much. Really good points. You got to call back again. You're terrific. 1-800-848-9222. And now, support our heroes.
The Rita Cosby Show presents Support Our Heroes.
And this is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Support Our Heroes segment with a very powerful story from Binghamton, New York, where a naval veteran was recognized and honored for a lifetime of service to our nation and his community. New York Senator Leah Webb presented naval veteran Lieutenant James Alexander Jr. with the New York State Liberty Medal. Veteran Alexander joined the Navy's V-12 college training program before serving aboard the USS Denver in the Atlantic during World War II. Upon returning home, veteran Alexander continued to serve his country as an electrical engineer with IBM's Federal Systems Division, where he worked as a critical military and defense-related aerospace project and also during the Cold War. Bravo to him and his continued service even after serving in the military. And how beautiful to see him recognized. As you know, we love our veterans and their families here on The Rita Cosby Show. And everybody, America's heroes need your help. Donate $11 a month to the incredible Tunnel to Towers Foundation. They are the absolute best out there to help our heroes get their lives back and help the families, too, many of them who have lost so much. Be sure to check out the Tunnel to Towers Foundation at T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org.
The Rita Cosby Show
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
It's the Rita Cosby Show.
And let's go to Dave in New Rochelle. Dave, your thoughts tonight here on the Rita Cosby Show.
Good evening, Rita. What the president needs to do is to stop talking so much, giving ammunition for the Democrats. He needs to have like a gag order. He needs to finish his job. He's in the sprint now. He needs to win the race and just blow up the bridges, take out their power plants, and bring them down to their knees. As far as the Marines, if the Marines landed in Iran, they will run for their lives. They'll take off their uniforms just like in Iraq. You think they're not going to fight against us? You drop our soldiers in Iran, they will run like babies. And the other thing,
by the way, I hope you're right. Some of these IRGC guys are nuts.
We have talented soldiers.
Oh yeah,
they're with plenty of patriotism. They'll go over there. I'm telling you, the Iranians will run like babies. Bullies always run. They will run, take off their uniforms, and cry. It's a no-brainer. Now, as far as so Donald Trump, comes from a rich family. He's a self-made sort of guy, but he's got to be tougher. He's got to be like a George Washington. At nighttime, he will manuscripts.
Dave,
he needs to reflect.
You don't think he's tough, Dave?
Tough enough. He's not tough enough.
So who's tougher, Dave? Who's tougher? Obama's tougher?
Ooh. We're not talking. I'm focused only on President Trump. He needs to finish the job, talk less, zip his mouth, and just take care of business and finish it for once and for all.
By the way, Dave, hang on. Yeah. I like the back half of what you're saying, because I do agree he needs to bring them to their knees. And he needs to absolutely send a message. I think they are playing around.
Yes.
And I think, listen, I do not doubt with our U.S. military that we could finish the job. It's going to be tough because these people are fanatics. But I think if anybody's up to the task, it's President Trump. I also, though, do applaud him, Dave, that he's at least giving peace a chance. Because he keeps trying. They certainly can't say in the history books that he didn't give the Iranians a chance. But I'm with you. It's now time to put them in a pile of rubble, the IRGC.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?